No Mutant and my co-host Drake Dragoon. Welcome to another segment of Who Would Win. Today's segment, Ichigo Kurosaki versus Romy Kenshin, or Kenshin Hamara, however you want to look at it. Okay, Drake Dragoon, who do you think's gonna win?
Ichigo Kurosaki all the way. No doubt about it.
Why?
Well, as we have seen in anime and in the manga, he not only can, use Getsuko Tensho, he also is, once he goes into Bankai mode, he can go faster than speed of sight. Or probably faster than that. And then there's also his final Getsuka form, where he can literally cut a mountain in half without even touching the mountain. He's that strong and fast. Rurouni Kenshin doesn't have superpowers. Yeah, I won't deny he has skill. But you put a laser beam in front of him, he can't block it. It'll just go through him. So, that's my opinion. How about you?
Well, as we've talked before, I believe it's a hard decision because Ichigo, as you said, does have power. His spiritual energy attacks. But he also, as I've said before to you, he does not have the skill and the experience that Romy Kenshin has. Romy Kenshin has had years of experience fighting in war and being the Batosai, meaning he was a perfect killing machine. Yeah, after the war he becomes a klutzy idiot, but when he gets serious, you better watch out because he knows what he's doing, and if he really wanted to and broke his vow not to kill again, he would probably slaughter you in a second without even blinking. What do you gotta say to that one?
I won't deny that. I've never denied that Rurouni Kenshin didn't have skill, but what he does lack is still superpowers. You put a guy with no superpowers versus a guy with superpowers, 9 times out of win, unless they have like some anti-superpower thing, they're not going to beat him. You put a regular sword against a guy who literally uses spiritual energy as a slice, it's going to go through the sword. What's Rurouni Kenshin going to use to kill Ichigo then? He's going to use the butt of it, just poke him in the head. And besides that,
Rurouni Kenshin, yes, has had skill, has been trained for years, but Ichigo also has been trained and was born into this, just about. His father was a captain. He was born with natural sword fighting abilities. Plus, there's also, if he ever does, get cut, there's also his holification form, which takes over usually when he's either about to die or does die. So I still would have to say that Ichigo would wipe the floor with Rurouni Kenshin. Even if Rurouni Kenshin could see him move, he'd be moving still too fast for him to block it, and too strong for his sword to handle it. You gotta also remember, 2 different time eras. One sword is actual metal, the other sword is composed as spiritual energy. Not that easy to break, whereas steel, well, Ichigo's cut through a building. A modern day building. Which is probably about 5 times stronger than his sword. So, back to you.
Okay, yeah, Ichigo has his superpowers. But if you sit there and take away Ichigo's superpowers and it just as a sword fight, Romy Kenshin's gonna have it. But if with his powers, I'd have to give it to Ichigo. But you gotta take it that Ichigo is a fair fighter. Without knowing his opponent has no superpowers, Ichigo would do a complete and utter just a sword fight against his opponent because of that. So, in that case, I would have to give it to Romy Kenshin because he does have the experience and the skills that far surpass Ichigo, along with his ability to read his opponent's movements. So he does have that advantage.
I have something to say. I just realized.
When Ichigo is in story from only people who have soul powers can't even see Ichigo. And for that matter, Ichigo, even when he's in his final Getsuka form, he can't use spiritual energy. It is just plain attacks. That's when he's with his strongest. So he would still be more than a match for Rurouni Kenshin. I'm sorry.
Okay, but again, you are forgetting Ichigo's a fair fighter, so he would not be able to use the final Getsuga Tensho because he can only use that move once. And when he uses it, the final Getsuga Tensho, it is a gigantic Getsuga Tensho energy blast. So, like I said, Ichigo is a fair fighter. His opponent can't use spiritual energy. He wouldn't be using his spiritual energy. It'll be a complete and utter sword fight.
Still
And
won't be able
in
to
this,
see him.
and my answer to that, they can't see each other. Remember, this is a who would win fight. Both the opponents can see freaking each other. Okay, this is a who would win fight. There is no freaking I can't see him and he can't see me. It's just a fight. Both can see each other. Okay.
Yeah, but if you take out if you take out Ichigo's, Soul Reaper powers, then he's not even really. He's just normal, so that doesn't make him Ichigo. That's not what makes Ichigo Kurosaki. It's his Soul Reaper powers that add to it that make him him. So you can't just say, well, he's a fair fighter, so I'm not gonna do it. No, he would refrain from it, but that doesn't mean he's gonna die and lose before he'd use them. You gotta also remember, he'll do whatever it takes to win. So.
Yes, he will do whatever it takes to win, but not if it means sitting there and killing somebody that is an innocent person. Rurouni Kenshin is a innocent, so Ichigo would more likely see it as a training fight more
So
than
kill him.
an actual fight. He'd go all out to the best of his abilities without resulting in using like Getsuga Tensho or anything like that. Yeah, he would still probably use his super speed and all that, but it would be speed and his strength versus Rurouni Kenshin's skills, speed, and strength, and flexibility.
But the thing you're not realizing, yeah, Rurouni Kenshin has speed and strength, but he doesn't have the speed and strength of Ichigo. I'm not denying that Rurouni Kenshin couldn't move quickly, but you gotta remember, and even when Ichigo first used his Bankai form, the captain couldn't even keep up with him. He had to literally control his Bankai by himself with his hands in order to even hope to keep up. And even then, he swung so fast he swatted all of his sword attacks away. So, I still don't think it would work. Because even if he didn't kill him, he would still beat the living crap out of him. There is no way Rurouni Kenshin could win.
I still say, like I said, it's all about skill. Yes, Ichigo does have power and strength, but so does Rurouni Kenshin. He also has way more experience than Ichigo. Yes, Ichigo can move super fast and do 1,000 swings in a second, but Rurouni Kenshin is able to read his opponent's moves way better than Byakuya Kuchiki ever could. Because Rurouni Kenshin designed his skills around being able to read his opponent's movements. That's how his sword style works.
Okay, how do you expect someone to read someone's movements when they can't even see the person? They're moving so fast. And if you were talking about just skill, then you could put anyone up against anyone, and it wouldn't matter. You could put Superman against a boxer that's done 30 years of boxing, and as far as skill goes, the boxer would win. It's not always going down to skill. Sometimes strength, speed, and everything else is a big key in it. Skill, yeah, you have to have the skill to use your speed and everything else. But if someone's speed and strength are that much higher than yours, and even if your skill is a little bit higher than theirs, it outweighs it by too much. By how high, how fast, and how strong Ichigo is compared to Rurouni Kenshin. I mean, it's literally, he swings, he would break his sword. He could not block him. If anything, he'd barely be able to dodge him and then end up just being him having to run away. There is no way a normal person could go up against a Spirit Reaper in Bankai form unless they are really, really weak Spirit Reaper.
Okay, but as you said before, you haven't really followed Rurouni Kenshin too much. Roman Kenshin has sat there and dodged freaking bullets. And he has taken a freaking solid brick wall and cut through it, and has cut a freaking cannonball in half. And not damage his sword. He has been lit on fire along with his sword, and still was fighting, and his sword did not break.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Ichigo had a hole blown through him. Twice. He's had... let's see. Let's go back. He's been crushed. He's been stabbed. He's been sliced. He's had where he only has a little bit of his spine connecting him. And still tried to fight. And he had not only sliced through, he can probably dodge a bullet, he can probably grab a bullet in midair like Superman does. And as far as the cannonball goes, he could probably grab a cannonball with his bare hand and crush it. And as far as, sword not breaking, the one time his sword's ever broken was when he was first starting. For the most part. It's only whenever he's in Bankai form, his sword's never broken. And whenever it has, he re-healed it 9 times out of 10 because, it's only made out of spirit energy. And he has cut through, let's see, mountains, buildings, people, swords, street lamps, which, are basic or strong as brick walls. He's gone through brick walls. He's kicked through steel doors. Can Ronin Kenshin kick through a steel door? Can Ronin Kenshin cut a building in half? Cut a mountain in half? Can he grab a cannonball with his bare hand? Can he be sliced in half and survive? I don't think so.
Okay, first of all, to sit there and get a hole blown through him, getting cut in half. First of all, he would have never survived any of those without Orihime's, Yorichi's, or Yunohana's help saving his fucking ass. Ichigo is a good fighter. I'm not saying he wouldn't win if he's using all his power. I'm just saying it would be a tough fight with Ichigo only using his sword skills versus Ronin Kenshin. I'm not denying Ichigo would win if he used all his powers. But again, like I said, he's a fair...
That's the end of it right there, though, because we're not trying to say, oh, Ichigo's a handicap. We're talking about Ichigo full power versus Ronin Kenshin full power. And you even admitted just now, Ichigo would wipe the floor. So that would be the end of that. If there was a handicap, that would be different. But we're not talking about with a handicap. We only started talking about the handicap when after we realized probably that he wouldn't have won. So, thank you for proving my point, though.
I didn't prove no point, like I said.
You admitted.
If Ronin Kenshin sat there and got in and was able to give a good slice through Ichigo and almost cut him in half, Ichigo would not have no defense.
Qualification. Actually, because when he got a hole blown through him, it was not one of them who healed him. It was the fact that, he went hollow form, which would also happen if Ronin Kenshin cut him in half. He would go hollow form, and he would probably eat Ronin Kenshin.
First of all, you're incorrect. If you remember correctly, he had a hole jabbed through his heart. Not being cut in half. He had his freaking heart blown out.
You're talking about you're talking about with Grimmjow, right? You're talking about that one? I'm talking about the one when he took on Ukiura. He had a hole blown through him. And he went hollow form. He didn't go... Orihime didn't heal him. He went hollow form. He went bow hollow form. And completely wiped the floor with him. I mean, he literally blew him to dust. Turned him to dust.
But again, you're forgetting. What did Ukiura do? He blew a freaking hole through his chest. Meaning, Ichigo had the hollow hole. Where it was when Hat and Clog sat there and was giving him back his spiritual powers. When Ukiura blew that hole through him again, it sat there and threw him into holification form. Now, getting sliced in half, he had to freaking get healed. Because he did not go holification. Only when he got a hole blown through his fucking chest.
Or
That's
got,
all I have to say.
Or when he got sliced when he was fighting Byakukuchiki, he went hollow form. Or how about when he was training with just about anyone, or when he was fighting, who was it? Well, he didn't go hollow form on Aizen, which was kind of interesting. He did go hollow form against Gin, and he got stabbed to straight to his stomach, not his chest, his stomach, and he went hollow form.
Yes, but his holification form did not heal him.
I'm not saying it healed him. I'm not saying he wouldn't be grievously injured afterward. I'm just saying he would still win the fight. I didn't say it instantly healed him, or it may get him put him back to 100%. He was more probably, if Rurouni Kenshin did cut him in half, he probably would die. But he would die after he killed Rurouni Kenshin. So because his hollow form would not let him die. So, and with being cut in half and not going holification. He also already used his holification and was not very good at using his holification back then when he was cut in half by Aizen. And after he had already just finished fighting Byakukuchiki. So, that's all I gotta say is that. I win. Thank you.
I don't say you win, I say we'd have to leave it up to the viewers. Because some people will say Rurouni Kenshin will win, some will say Ichigo Kurosaki. We'll leave it up to the viewers. Whichever Ichigo or Kenshin Himura, whoever ends up with the most votes will be the winner of this fight. So leave a comment at the end of this video telling us who you vote for. And this is the end of episode 2 of Who Would Win. Yami no Mujin out.
Peace out, my Dragu.